Welcome to Course Grinder's first Java tutorial. We're going to be using Eclipse to write and compile our code throughout this entire series. If you don't already have an IDE, which is what we use to write and compile code, make sure you go ahead and check out video number 0 in this series where I explain how to download and install Eclipse. It's free, it's easy to use, and it's available on Mac, PC, and Linux, so I highly recommend it. So in this series, I'm going to be teaching Java, assuming that you have absolutely no knowledge of programming. A lot of people like to teach Java assuming that you already know C++, because these core programming languages have a lot of similarities, so sometimes it's easier to teach them based on how they differ from C++. That's great, but for the people who don't know C++ and want to learn Java, it's a little bit of a problem. So I'm going to assume you have absolutely no programming language, you've never written a line of code before, and we're going to start from scratch. If you do have a little bit of programming knowledge, it's just going to be a little bit slower, but we'll eventually be getting into some things where it'll be new content for you, so don't worry. I'm just going to go a little bit slower at the start off. Anyways, a programming language is something that we understand. It's something that humans understand and humans can write. A computer doesn't understand what it is. It has no idea what we're talking about. Computers understand binary, which is ones and zeros. We know that. Now, a compiler, which is what Eclipse is going to allow us to do, is going to be translating our programming language, Java, into ones and zeros. So programming languages are things that can be translated into binary so that the computer can understand them and it can perform the actions that a program requests it to do. That's the basic summary of programming languages. That's what they want to do. And each programming language has their own benefits. So anyways, we're going to get started. We have Eclipse open over here. I'm going to start off by going to this first drop-down menu up here. You're going to click on the drop-down. You're going to click on the first option, which says Java Project. And this is going to be the file where we're going to be storing all of the content of our program. So I'm going to start off by calling this the turtle folder. So this will be my turtle folder. I'm going to see it's going to make a folder up here. You can press on the arrow to expand its content. We see we have two items inside of it. We have SRC, which is the source folder, and we have JRE system library. We're going to ignore the system library for now, and we're just going to focus on this SRC folder, the source folder. So you're going to start up by right-clicking on it, click on New, and then go down to Class. Everything inside of Java is going to want to be designed inside of a class. Now you can call this class whatever you want, but it's better to make sure that you have a capital letter to start it off. So I'm going to start this off with Lemming. So I'll call this the Lemming class, and we see right now I'm going to have lemming.java, which is going to be where I'm going to be writing my code. Now this is a class. Remember, keep that in mind. Now in this video, the frustrating thing is that there's going to be a lot of keywords that we're going to be looking at, and it's hard for me to actually tell you guys what these keywords are going to be doing because you don't really know much about programming yet, right? So if I start explaining what these keywords are going to mean, it's going to be a bit difficult for you to understand. So for the most part, it's going to be frustrating. This will be the only video we'll do it. I just want you guys to learn the order of what we're doing. I'm going to be repeating these steps that we see in this video in pretty much every video we do, at least for the start of this series. So don't worry about memorizing it just now. It's going to be, grilled inside of your mind by like 5 or 6 videos into this series. So don't worry about that. I will give you guys a little bit of an overview for it. So today we want to build a program, and every video we will be building a new program, right? We're going to learn something new about the Java language through the program we build. We want to build a program that down here in this little preview window is going to be outputting this line of text to our screen. Welcome to your first Java program. Maybe not in capitals. My caps lock was on. I didn't want to fix it, so it makes it look like the program is yelling at us. But this preview window down here is going to show us what our program is going to do, and we want it to output this line of text to our screen. And we're going to see exactly how we can do that now. So we know that all code in Java wants to be inside of a class, and these classes are going to be storage compartments, right? So when I use the keyword class, the program knows that the next word that's going to follow it's going to be whatever I want to name the class. In this case, I want to name this class Lemming. Now you want to make sure that this class is the same name as your .java file over here with the same case sensitivity. So you want to make sure that you don't go ahead and make this lowercase l. Just leave it as is, right? All this appears automatically in Eclipse when you go ahead and open it up anyway. You're just going to leave it as is. So this is going to be a Lemming class. We're going to be storing code inside of this. Now the public keyword over here means we're going to have anything else that's not inside of this class is allowed to look inside of it and see what's going on. We're not going to have all of our code written inside of this class, inside of a huge program, because we might have thousands of lines of code, and it's going to get kind of messy if we went ahead and put it all inside of the same class. So we're going to put that on the outside. Altogether, all of these words are called a header. Now the body, which is the other part of anything we write in code, is going to be what we have between these two curly braces over here. That's going to be all the content of what we wrote in the header. So all the content of this Lemming class is going to be inside of these curly braces. So you have an open curly brace and a closed curly brace. I'm going to go ahead and put some notes here. These notes are comments. What happens when you put two slashes, this will not be included in your code. So you can actually just use this to write some notes for yourself when you're learning along. If you want to actually explain what happened when you wrote something, put those 2 slashes and make sure you write it. You can't just write words hanging over the place, because the program, or at least Eclipse, is going to think that you're trying to write keywords, right? Like you just can't write like a public class. These are keywords. keywords. You just can't have words hanging out all over the place. You have to put them inside of your comments. So go ahead and write start of class up here. Now let's go down here and write end of class, just so we know what's going on. You don't need to do this, but just so we can actually visualize what's going on here. Now we know that if we want to put something inside this class, it needs to be between the start of the class and the end of the class in these little curly braces over here. So I'm going to start off by making the main method. Now our program is going to have a ton of code written all over the place. However, the script, like the movie script of what it wants it to do, is going to be listed inside of the main top to bottom, right? It's going to look inside of the main method, which is it's also a function, right? I should also get into this. In Java, we call functions methods. Now, it's going to look like a function, which is why I bring this up. And if you ever hear me say function, I'm talking about method. I just want to clear that up now, because in other programming languages, we do call them functions. So I want to make sure you guys don't get lost in the dark here. If I say method and function, both those things mean the exact same thing. Just keep that in mind. So when in our program, we're going to have lines of code all over the place. Now, the program needs to know what it's going to do, and it's going to go inside of its main right away, and it's going to read it top to bottom, and that's going to be the order it wants things to be executed in. Now, we won't have everything written inside of this main method. However, it will need to look inside of it, and if you're going to want something to occur, it needs to be made reference to inside of this main method. So we're going to have more keywords now, right? And this is going to be a problem because these keywords are confusing. Now I was able to explain the keywords over here for the class. That was, I think I could explain that pretty well as someone who doesn't know anything about programming. However, these ones are going to be a little bit crazy. We're going to have public, which we know is to allow things that are not inside of the body that we're about to make. Other things that are outside of it can look inside. Fair enough. Then we're going to have static, which I'm not going to get into. Then we're going to have void, which is a return type, which you're going to see that in a few videos, what the purpose of this is. Then we're going to write main, and then I'm going to be putting two brackets, so an open and close bracket. That's where it looks like a function, right? Because in math class, we know that if we were to write something like f of x, right? The f and the brackets, that's the function part, right? Which means function of x. So that still is the same thing here. We say that we're going to be calling this main, which is the name of our function, and you're normally allowed to name your functions or methods whatever you want. In this case, the main has to be called main. This is the only time you can't actually go ahead and name it something special. You're just going to have to sit back and call it main. Now we're going to have these two brackets over here, which indicates it's a function, and we'll be passing a parameter through that. I'm going to be passing through the parameter string, then we put two square braces, so an open and closed square brace to make it look like a little square, and then I'm going to write args, and that is going to be the main function. Now it's confusing, right? And then we're going to have the body of the main function, which is going to be represented like we did with the class over here, with an open, start of main, and close, curly brace, end of main, just like that. So everything is set up. So everything inside of here is going to be what your program looks at top to bottom, and it's going to be reading that as if it's reading a movie script, and that's going to be, how it executes everything. It's the spine of the program. Now, it can be frustrating trying to remember these keywords that I wrote inside of the main. We are going to be looking at this main method in every single video. I'm going to be setting it up in every single video, so we'll eventually remember what they all mean, and we're going to learn their meanings later on. However, for now, let's go ahead and make a song out of it just so you remember the order. Public static void main string square args. Public static void main string square args. Public static void main string square args. You hear that? It's the sound of Nicki Minaj contacting me to purchase this for the background music of a new song. That's what you just got to remember. And we're going to look at it in every single video. Don't worry about it. I know it's not a good sign for me to just say don't worry about it so early on in the series, but this is the one thing that you just got to trust me. We're going to learn it later on. So now we're going to go ahead and put a statement or argument inside of our main method. We're going to start telling our program what we want it to do. And we know we want to make this program down here where it's going to be outputting welcome to your first Java program, maybe hopefully not in capitals again, to the screen, right? So we're going to go ahead and write our keyword system, right? So this means I want the system to output. I'm separating that with a period. I want it to output something, right? I want my program to output something to my monitor. And I want this to be outputting a printed line, right? So println is another keyword. So we're adding three new keywords here. System out means I want my system to output a printed line. I want to print a line to my screen, and I'm going to put whatever I want to be printed inside of these brackets. Now, one thing to consider is everything we see so far, if you just write a word, it assumes it's a keyword, right? It assumes it's part of the program. Like we saw over here with our comments, we need to put those two slashes to make sure that our program doesn't actually go ahead and think that this start of main here is part of our program. It's just a note to us. Now, the same goes if you want to actually put text as is, which means if I want to write a sentence and I don't want the program to think that every single word inside that sentence is a keyword, that it should be, trying to find out what the meaning is, you need to put those in quotation marks. So whatever I want output into my screen, I'll need to put inside of quotation marks inside of these brackets. In this case, I'll write welcome to your first Java program. right over there. Welcome to your first Java program. And we have to go ahead and end this off with a semicolon. Whenever you write a statement or an argument, you need to end that line off with a semicolon. Remember that. That's going to be the most common error that you're going to run into, but don't worry, I will be reminding you every single video in this series. So let's walk through this one more time, right? We have our public class, and we know that our code wants to be inside of class. Fair enough. And we have this main method over here, which is going to be the spine of our program. We know that our program is going to look inside this main method first, and it's going to go from top to bottom, and it's going to say, this is the order that whoever wrote this wants me to execute the things in, right? So the first thing over here, we only have one in this case. It says, I want the system to output something to the screen, and I want it to print the line, welcome to your first Java program. And when you go up here to this play button over here, this build and run button, well, not build and run, this build button right here. The build and run one is when you actually want to go ahead and do it later on. But just go ahead to this run button over here. You'll press run lemming, which means you run lemming.java. And right now we see down here, welcome to your first Java program. It's successful. It worked. So that's the first video for this series. I know it's a little bit discouraging just to see that we can't find out the real meaning of all these words up here, but remember my rap. That's what you guys need to remember, and it will all make sense to you guys later on in this series. Thank you very much for watching. If you ever have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I will respond to you as soon as possible. If I don't know the answer to your problem, I will find the answer for you. I'm here to help you guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy this Java series.